Breaking tonight, new fallout from the latest interview by President Obama, where he accuses Fox News of trying to make him scary and raises new questions about people of faith. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. The president has made a lot of news in the last 48 hours, first in a big sit-down with 60 Minutes, and now in a one-on-one talk with one of his favorite authors. It was a wide-ranging conversation in which the president discussed American culture, democracy, religion, and politics, suggesting at one point that his initial success came because, quote, conservative media had not yet weighed in.
It's interesting because we're talking in Iowa. People always, I think, were surprised about me connecting with folks in small-town Iowa. And the reason I did was, first of all, I had the benefit that at the time nobody expected me to win, and so I wasn't viewed through this prism of Fox News and conservative media and making me scary.
The president also putting forward a question whose main assumption was that people of faith are often the most suspicious of others. Listen.
How do you reconcile the idea of faith being really important to you and you caring a lot about taking faith seriously with the fact that, at least in our democracy and our civic discourse, it seems as if folks who take religion the most seriously sometimes are also those who are suspicious of those not like them.
Let's drill down on this one with two political messaging pros. Mark Thiessen is a Fox News contributor and former chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush. And Bill Burton is a former Obama White House deputy press secretary. Good to see you both. So I'll start with you, Mark. I'm here in D.C. It's great to see you. Good to see you too, Bill. So it's that, I guess, the Republicans, conservatives, and then Fox News have made him scary. That's what he attributes his problems to.
Yeah, he doesn't need Fox News to make him scary. He's doing a really good job of it on his own. I mean, have you seen the Middle East in recent times? It's pretty scary. Calling ISIS the JV team while they take over territory the size of Great Britain, that's pretty scary. Paving the way for a Russian-Iranian alliance to push us out of the Middle East, that's pretty scary. So Barack Obama's doing a pretty good job of scaring the American people with his policies. They don't have to be scared of him personally.
What about that, Bill? I mean, it's he's got his policies that he will do well on or he won't do well on, and now we have 7 years, to judge him on. What is it with, it's something else. Look at something else. It's not me. It's something else that you should look at to define any problems that have come my way.
Well, Megyn, I don't think that that's what this conversation was about. It wasn't about what Barack Obama's problems are and where they're coming from. It was a conversation about Christianity and characters and books. And, the one quote that did not get read on the air just now is, the president isn't just talking about one group of Christians. He's talking about a bunch of different groups of Christians. He even makes fun of liberal Christians for being wishy-washy on religion just right before the part that you read. So I think the president is giving a wide-ranging interview on a lot of different things, and that's just one part of the conversation.
Well, that is the other piece of it, Mark, which is the religious people. Yeah. How do you square being a person of deep faith when we all know that it's people of deep faith who are the most suspicious of others? Yeah,
Barack Obama has this terrible habit of questioning the motives and morality of people who disagree with him. I mean, this is the exact same thing. And he said he was reading this book in 2008. So it's interesting that in 2008 was when he said, quote, that the conservatives get bitter, they cling to guns, religion, or antipathy towards people who aren't like them. I mean, this is a habit this president
the bitter clingers
soundbite, but it's all people who don't look like them. Conservatives aren't upset with Barack Obama because they don't look like him. They don't like people who look like him. They are upset with him because they think he's a terrible president, and they disagree with his policies. They don't think he's necessarily a bad person. They think that they disagree with the direction he's taking the country. He doesn't feel that way about conservatives. He thinks conservatives are bad people who don't like people who look different than they do, and he's basically calling them racists.
What about that, Bill? Because there is a... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to be clear, the president didn't say anything about racism here. It was Mark who brought it up. Secondly, I don't think that the president is just blaming his issues on other people. What the president is trying to do is have a conversation about different things. He's not questioning motives. He's talking about some perceptions. And so, I mean, if you look at some of the people who are most identified with Christianity in public life, just look at the presidential campaign, Ben Carson. Here's a guy who says, a Muslim should not be president. If you look at Franklin Graham, here's a guy who says 9/11 is because of homosexuality. If you look across the spectrum, yes, there are a lot of people very associated with highly religious views who do often get perceived as questioning folks who are different than them. The president isn't saying that all religious people don't like people who look different than them, don't like people who aren't the same religion than them. But what the president is saying is that there is often a perception issue that's worth talking about.
Go ahead, Mark.
He said specifically, they cling to guns, religion, antipathy towards people who aren't like them. In this interview, he said they are suspicious of those who aren't like them. How else am I supposed to read that, Bill? And by the way, this is not the only example of it. In 2012, he said about conservatives, he said, if you're out of work, you can't find a job, you're on your own. You don't have health care, you're on your own. You're born into poverty, you're on your own. That's the Republican view. It's not that we disagree about poverty and how to handle it. It's not that we disagree about how to improve the economy. He believes that Republicans don't care about people, that they're selfish, bad people who don't care about their fellow Americans. He's constantly questioning their motives. I don't think Barack Obama's a bad person. I think he's trying to do what's best for the country. I think he's terribly wrong about it. He thinks that I don't care about the poor, don't care about people who don't have jobs, people who don't care about people who have an education. And it is scary to have someone in the White House who feels that way.
And he thinks you want dirty air and dirty water, just for good measure. Don't forget
That's
that.
True.
Bill, you understand the messaging because conservatives, Republicans feel that he's constantly attacking them and poking them and blaming them and condemning them, and then they think he plays the victim, saying, I don't know why they're after me and try to make me seem so scary because I am very benevolent and perfectly willing to talk to these air-hating, water-hating, poor child-hating people.
I want to get on the record and say that I do not think that Mark Thiessen hates air. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. But I will say,
right now, baby.
I will say that Mark is quite specifically taking something out of context, which is, the president did not say folks are more suspicious. He was saying that there is this perception that they are. You know, I think for the president to say that there are different worldviews is not it's not a groundbreaking thing to say. I went back and I watched one of the president's speeches after he lost the New Hampshire primary. I was on this panel and I wanted to go and look back at some of the things he had said. And one of the things that struck me was that in his speech he said, you know what, Democrats and Republicans, all the candidates in this race, we share the same goals, which is to make America stronger, to make our kids smarter, to make sure that people can get an education for all their kids. It's just that we have different means of getting there. And that's what I think gets lost in these conversations.
Those were good times.
People say the president is like all these things about perception, but it's worth knowing that that's where the president comes from, not little snippets of these conversations that he's having.
Mark's just looking at me like, do I get a chance? No, you do not. All right, great to see you both tonight.
Thanks, Megyn.
Well, we also have breaking news tonight
Megyn.
on
Talk
Dr.
to you
Ben
later.
Carson. Yeah, talk to you later. And his big new poll numbers. Wait until you see the latest Fox News poll and some ugly media attacks that have just surfaced. Chris Direwalt and Howie Kurtz are next on how the candidate is handling both and what it means for the 2016 race. Plus, meet the woman who sued her 12-year-old nephew for rambunctious behavior. Arthur and Mark are here on whether the case has merit and what happened when a jury weighed in today. And then horrifying new details on how a passenger jet was shot down over Ukraine as investigators reveal what they think happened to the 298 people inside and who they believe was responsible.
The forward part of the airplane was torn off. The airplane broke up in the air.